three.
Hello, I am Bryan Bowden, sometimes known as Sir Bryan. I am a real Knights Templar, and that's why I use the Sir Bryan. I got involved in the paranormal probably when I was like 4 or 5 years old with all the monster movies and In Search of and some other programs. You would see Bigfoot or a Yeti or the Loch Ness Monster. So I was always interested in that. I started to be interested. I'm also interested in space and UFOs. So I investigate everything that's would be classified as high strangeness. Um, if it's weird, I'm in researching and investigating it. And as I got older, I was able to have a car and go out and do some more real boots on the ground or in person investigations, and that's how I started. Um, my real background is in finance, and I've done some stuff with the IMF, World Bank, a lot of broker dealers. I do. I was a think tank for a while, but I just love the subject. I have so many questions and not enough answers. And then when I get the answers to some of those questions, it begets more questions. So it's a never ending rabbit hole that we jump into. Um, and my experience one on one, I usually like to present from my own personal footage or audio or video. But I've seen Bigfoot, I've seen the Dogman, I've seen spirits. I'm a remote viewer and also psychic medium. I have abilities that I question because I grew up with a science background, but they're real. I do a lot of pro bono readings. I do a couple of paid readings. Um,
Well,
and I just,
let's get back to your Bigfoot stories.
sure.
You said you became a researcher and you got out in the field, and tell me about some of those. Where were you? When did this happen? How did it come
Well,
about? And what did you see?
let's start at the very beginning to make your audience a little bit more happier.
Okay.
um, my mother was a school teacher in New York City. So when you're off July and August, what do? And she had three boys. I have an older brother, and younger brother. She became the head counselor of a summer camp in northwestern Connecticut. And I've been in that camp since I was born. Literally, I'm a July 4th baby. So she took off that summer or most of it, but they brought me up to camp, and I've been up there since I was a baby. So I kind of grew up in northwestern Connecticut, and if you total up all the summers, I've spent about 12 years of my life in the state of Connecticut. So back in the 70s, about 78, 79, I was in one of these bunks, sleeping bunks. And the way it works in camp is counselors are either on duty watching the kids at night, or they get off and they go to town. They go to the local pub. They get pizza, they eat, they drink, and then they come back home to the bunks. So I'm in this long bunk, and my bed was all the way to the. If you walked into the center of the door, the room expands all the way to the left, and they're double deckers on both sides, bunk beds they call, but we call them double deckers. Mine was all the way over to the left, and the majority of it was covered with the outside of the building. But by my feet was a 3 foot by 3 foot window, and there were four panes of glass on it, and it slides into the frame and it slides out. So I think maybe I was like 10ish. I get I wake up because I have to use the bathroom, and when I'm smelling this amazing like skunky, musky, like it stinks, and I'm used to that for being in summer camp. There's skunks everywhere. So I get up and I open my eyes and I see that all the lights are off in the bunk, which means the counselors are back and they're sleeping. Now, on on the side where my double decker as my bunk bed was, a few feet away from my feet, probably about 7, 8 feet, is a door to that side of the bunk to go out. where the window was. And when I get up and I wake up and I get up from my bed to go, kind of hop off my bunk bed, in the window, right by my feet, no more than 6 inches, is a giant monkey. I mean, they look like a combination of a monkey gorilla, and its head is it's bigger than the window frame, and I'm kind of peeking at it at a distance. I don't know if it could see me, but it was peeking in the window, and it was kind of just looking around, left and right, like what's going on in that bunk. And I froze, and I went right back down and lay down, and I wasn't getting out of that bed at that point. So I laid there for a while, and my bladder just filled and filled. And after about 45 minutes, I was either going to have an accident and affect the well being of Billy Carmen, who slept underneath me, or I had to get to that restroom in the back of the bunk. So I slowly withdrew my feet. I really, quietly went down off the bunk bed, and I did a dog crawl underneath the bunk, underneath the beds. And when I got to that door, because that thing was outside that door, I made it as quick as possible without making as much noise to the other side where there's another row of beds. And I crawled underneath all the beds till I got to the back of the bunk. And then I slowly stood up and hid myself and looked at the window. And I didn't see anything at that point. But the problem is, in the back of the bunks where the restrooms are, there are windows there. And if it's outside there, to get to that side is not that far. So I was a bit nervous. So there happened to be a couple of sinks there, and I did my business to, hide in the shadows. And when I was finished, I kind of went back, got in bed, and I forgot about it. Because growing up, we saw In Search of, and everything Bigfoot related or these cryptids was the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, Oregon. That's, where the Patterson film was. I'm like, I didn't even know that it was Bigfoot's here. I didn't even think it. I would never have thought it. So I went on, got up. I didn't pay attention to it. Well, a couple years ago, I do have a photographic memory and autographic memory. I was having a discussion with a buddy of mine, and I know at this point that there are a plethora of Bigfoots on the East Coast, usually traveling around the Appalachian Trail into the Adirondacks. There's a lot of them on the East Coast, more so than there is on the West Coast. Um, so I did a quick search for the area. I said, Bigfoot sightings and the area in northwestern Connecticut, the town of Winstead. And lo and behold, right next to the property where my camp is, no more than 300 yards, of woods, is a large lake. It's actually a reservoir. And this is where it's going to get interesting for everybody. The name of the reservoir, the lake, is Crystal Lake. And if you've seen those, Friday the 13th movies, um, the people that created that movie and that horror genre, they actually came up to my camp one summer and presented to the owners that we want to film here this movie, and they discussed what it was. It was a horror film. It was Friday the 13th, and it took place at Camp Crystal Lake. So you get the connection. So she said no to it, which was a big mistake on her part because they would have destroyed all the bunks and then rebuilt them. But that's a different story. But right there at that lake, this road drove through it. Um, Same summer I had my encounter with that big monkey in the window. There were two Bigfoot sightings right there at that reservoir, two separate people. And on top of that, on the other end of the mountain that we were on, is a like a lover's lane type of place, and there was a couple there, making out, and they got out of there quickly after they saw about an 8-foot wild man, as they called it, um, go right in front of their car, and they took off. So I was like, that was real. That was a real event. And I wish I can go back in time to the point where, like, knowing what I know now, I would have been like, "Hey, you want some candy?" I would have tried a little bit more communication with him. But at the point where we were at 10 years old, he was so massive. I mean, it would have been nothing for him to put his hand through, and because I think the window was open, just put this through the screen, grabbed my feet, and took me away. So that was my first Bigfoot encounter in the 70s.
Did you ever talk to any
And
of the other people at the camp later on in life when you realized that that was probably Bigfoot?
well,
Did you ever talk to
well,
any of them to see if any of them had seen a Bigfoot in that area?
no, I didn't talk to them, but there was a gentleman whose name was DJ, and he was born and raised in the town, and he was part of the Wild Men. So if you go look up Winsted, Connecticut, you'll see about the Winsted Wild Man. And the Winsted Wild Man is a Bigfoot. Sometimes the Bigfoot is called the Wild Man because they have hair all over, and that's the best way to explain it to people. But he has stories of the wild man. I said, wild man, and like, yeah, they have these creatures that come out. And at the time, I knew about Bigfoot, but I didn't think it was here. It just didn't. I didn't correlate it. But they've had plenty of sightings in the area. And where that reservoir was, not the reservoir, the Lover's Lane, is the same area, or that the Bigfoot has been seen several times before over the history of the town. There was even a newspaper report um, of it, you know, so it was pretty interesting. But later on, I know some people in the area, and we've had a couple of discussions about you know Bigfoot and Bigfoot sightings, and it's actually prevalent in the area. Um, I've been back up to the camp many, many, many times. It's changed hands over the years, but I know that there's certain areas that they are in, and it correlates to a New York encounter, which I'll go into in a minute. Um, I just don't want to mute myself here. And there, if if a wolf has a 150-mile radius of hunting, I'm going to assume, and rightfully so, that this the Bigfoot, the bipedal, whatever it is, probably triples that. And if that's the case, it's not only in that northeastern corridor of Connecticut; it goes into Massachusetts because you follow the road into Massachusetts. There's sightings of Bigfoot in Great Barrington, Lee, Mass. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different sightings there. There's one point where New York State, Connecticut, and Massachusetts merge. There's several Bigfoot sightings there. And throughout the years as a camper, we would go and go off on our own, and we would go to we call it Blueberry Hill. It's the mountain behind, that the camp has some of the property to. And there have been many, many times where me and my friends have, thinking back on it, we've gotten rocks thrown at us. We've heard the snorts, like something was there, and I thought, oh, there's a farm there. It's got to be the farm animals. No, I'm 99% sure it's a Bigfoot. So let's fast forward a couple of years back. I have two children. My oldest daughter, I wanted her to go to that camp, even though it changed hands. It's kind of hard to explain when you go to summer camp and sleepaway camp. You meet people, and you see them at their worst and best. And I still am friends with hundreds of people, like real friends. So she went up there, and she knows my story, but she wasn't paying too much attention to it. But a couple of years ago, what they do is this camp does something at the end of the summer where they bring them up to this into the woods at an opening, which used to be where our horses were kept. But they made it into like a little fire pit, and they do like a closing ceremony with torches and bring everybody together. So I said to my daughter Sam, I'm like, "So do you see a Bigfoot?" She goes, "Yeah," and I thought she was pulling my leg. And I said, "Yeah, yeah, right. You're pulling my leg." She goes, "No, Dad, I saw it." I said, "Well, where did you see it?" It was at the end when we went up to the fire. It was there. It was behind a tree. I said, "Are you kidding?" He goes, "No." And it kept peeking out. And anytime the fire or flame got closer or lit up the area it would go behind the tree. Now, she doesn't know the characteristics and how these things operate. She just described every Bigfoot um, that's out there. They are very elusive. They know how to duck and cover. And I said, "Can you draw it for me?" And she drew basically a Bigfoot. It just was peeking out of the tree, and it was in the distance. It was watching what was going on with the fire and the kids, because they're very curious. By the way, they love interacting, especially with kids. They just there's something about them, and it was paying attention. So it continues today in that area.
Yeah,
You know.
I've had a lot of reports up in that whole, eastern corridor up there,
Oh, oh yeah,
of Bigfoot sightings and Bigfoot incidences. So yeah, I definitely believe that there's a lot of activity up there. So
yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You have other encounters, you said, with other
Oh
things,
yeah.
well, besides
Oh
Bigfoot, right?
yeah. I have plenty of them. So I can't give you the exact name of the place that we go to because we're trying to keep that. It's not that we don't want people to go there. People go there, and people in the area know that there's um, Bigfoot or some strange creature in the area. But some of the people that get involved in this, uh, I question their morals and ethics, and I question how they operate. And I don't. It takes a while to build up a trust with people, and it takes a while to build up a trust with a 7, 8, 9, 10 foot bipedal cryptid. So we do have a relationship in our area. But this is upstate New York, and it's really close to that four corners where New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts meet. So it could very well be the same clan of Bigfoot, going, it could be part of the same clan. I haven't tagged or bagged anything yet, so I don't know. But so we were doing a day and night investigation up at this lake, and the lake at one point, um, that whole area was given to a company, nuclear, a mineral company that mines and military grade uranium and radioactive material, and it was given to them to create some kind of fuel or engine for a nuclear device by the government. Long story short, they had an accident at the complex. Nuclear radiation was everywhere in the lake, and the government cleaned it up. And if people see it, it's air quotes. They didn't really clean it up. So this lake now is a park in the area. It's a state park, and it borders the Appalachian Trail. And one of my friends that I would research with, he lives pretty close to it. He used to take his dog there, and he's heard a couple of stories about the lake. He's had a couple of experiences up there. So we decided that we're going to do a day night investigation up at this lake and at a specific point. So the problem we have is the lake and park closes at sunset, and they have a ranger there. And I have found throughout my travels and research that this lake should not have a ranger there. There's no reason for it. It's a park, but no reason for it. I've never encountered rangers outside of national park. Rangers outside of national parks, no problem. Um, but in New York State, you don't really get park rangers there. You only get it when there's something there they don't want people to play around with. And that's just my personal deduction from the research I do. So I think they're aware that something's there, or they know exactly what's there, and they don't want to have any issues. So they keep a ranger there so people can't keep going in. So what you had to do is we had to park like a half a mile away. and then we walked in towards the end. It was three of us. It was myself, my friend Al, and our friend Bill. And we walked down this road to get to the entrance. From the entrance to where the park, like this lake begins, is probably about a half mile. So we got our backpacks on and we're walking in. We're going towards the lake. Um, Now, when you get to this lake, you can take two paths. You can go to the left, which borders the Appalachian Trail, and it's easier to go through, or you go to the right. Now, the right starts off really easy, but it becomes a goat trail. I mean, you could literally get killed going up these steep, like these rock faces. Terrible to move. You can't maneuver in there whatsoever. So we go to the left, and as we're going, we get to a certain point where my buddy Al describes, like, when I was here, I found a footprint here, and he found a large footprint, probably about 16 inches. And then we keep moving to an area which opens up a little bit, and it like you can kind of camp there. You can put a little fire, put some tents, and this borders the left side of the lake. And while we were there, there's a rock face near there that, in order to get to, you'd have to go deep in the woods to backtrack up to get to the top of it. But there's something called an Inukashuk that's built on top of it. And I don't know if you're aware of what Inukashuks are, but um, the Inuit build these rock-based figures that look like people. And look, there's two legs. There's a long piece in the middle, the arm, and then it goes up, and there's like a head on there. It's almost like a warning, like "Don't come here." It's kind of a visual, like something's going on here. None of your business. Stay away. So I said, "Oh my God, that's an Inukashuk. I haven't seen any one of those outside of you know Canada, up in near the Arctic Circle where the Inuit are." My friends didn't know what a Nukashuk was, and I explained it to them. It's a spirit piece. It's a protector and a warning. So I said, "That's very interesting. No problem." We walked from that campsite to where we're finally going, which is at the top of the lake. And the total walk is about 2 miles. So when you get to the beginning of the lake and you make the left and you go to the top of the lake, it's a 2 mile walk, hike. And there is, we decided this is where this is the first location we're going to be in. And we set up our setup. So I just got to give you a visual. If you're looking at it from my perspective, you're looking at it. On the left-hand side is a rock wall, and they're very prevalent throughout New England. It's probably 2 to 3 feet high. It has a large expanse. Bill puts his chair over there. 10 feet to the right in the middle. This is where Al puts his camping chair, and it's in front of a rock wall facade. Lots of rocks, a little bit of a mountain. And 10 feet to the right of him, I put my chair closest to the water, but closest into the woods. Like there's nothing behind me. Like I can get up, walk behind me, walk up this little mound, kind of travel to get to the top of the mountain, like where Al is, and deeper into the woods. That's our campsite. So we set that up. And what we do is we start doing investigations. Now, Bill is there just as an experiencer. He had a show on YouTube where he would chat and show sky stuff and something with the sky. But Alan and I are there to investigate, but we do separate investigations. So he's walking around with a parabolic mic, it's listening, and as he points it up towards the top of the trees, he starts getting what sounds like a Morse code and a weird sound. He goes, "What is that? What is that?" So I listened to it and I said, "Well, given the consideration that the nuclear event accident happened probably 50 years ago, those trees that were smaller, where all that material kind of like, got into, are higher up now. So we're probably getting that. It's either that or it's a microwave signal or it could even be a UFO. And let me tell you something, in this area, there has been strange images, objects seen, UFOs, individuals, cryptid creatures, blue mist, you name it. So he does his experiment. I'm doing mine. I'm doing some readings. And then we decide to call our psychic out in Arkansas. But the problem is, once we got there, there's a pressure that starts building. You can feel it. And the best way to describe it is, you can even taste it, is if depending on where you are in summer when the rain comes in and the pressure builds from the rain, you feel that. And then you can taste the negative ions in the atmosphere. There's a certain taste to it, and it's really heavy and it's pushing on us. And I'm pretty much trying to ignore it. Al's trying to ignore it, but we definitely feel something in the area. It's ramping up, and we call our psychic in Arkansas, and she gets on the phone and she sounds like she has Bell palsy, like she can't speak, and like it's mumbling, and it's just not coming out. So we try to recall her back. It's not working. So we'll call you later. So we're doing some experiments. And when we got there, we did it at the tail end of the day. So the sun's setting. We're not going to light a fire. So we're not supposed to be there. So we have a little bit of glow sticks. So we're starting to hang out there. But while we're there and the sun is kind of setting, we're hearing tree knocks, in the background, like something hitting the tree, like a baseball bat in a tree. We hear rock knocks. We hear something moving around in the woods in two locations. One is off to our left, which is closer to where the water is, and we're maybe 100 yards from the water at that point. And it's on the other side of the path we just came from, and it sounds like more than one thing. And then there's another one that's in the woods, kind of behind us. Um, and Al's, with the parabolic mic, you pick up all this stuff. He's like, something's walking in here. I'm like, yeah, I can hear it. Um, so we're hanging out. The pressure's building. It gets dark. And as it gets dark, you can just feel the pressure. You start hearing the rock knocks at one end on the left. And then behind us, you hear a response, something. Then a tree knock, then a response. You hear something walking around very um, purposely on the foliage. And at one point in time, again, pitch black, there is what seems to be a bluff charge, and it's by Bill. So it's all the way to the right of me. And someone's running up, and you can hear it. Ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Bill gets up. Al gets up. I get up. Bill starts to run. And Al grabs him because he's going to kill himself. I grab him, and we're like, stand your ground. I move to the right of Al, and the only thing I have with me is machetes. I don't have a firearm permit for New York State or concealed carry. So I pull the machete out. I'm not going to outrun anything. I'm not going in that water because there's still radiation in it and huge snapping turtles, alligator snapping turtles. So it's fight or flight. And at that point at night, we shine the flat. Bill is panicked. We shine 6 million candle watt light on the area. There's nothing there. We have a FLIR, nothing on the FLIR. Infrared, nothing on the infrared. Everything gone. So we're like, what the heck was that? Because bears do bluff charges as well, but Bigfoot does it. Gorillas do it. It's an innate ability. It's kind of like trying to get you to move. Doesn't move. Everybody calms down. Bill goes back to his seat. He's unnerved, but he goes back there. And then we hear the rock knocks again, like 100 yards away from us by the other side of the water. And we're like, what the hell was that? I don't know. So we're walking, we're just sitting there again. We hear rock knock. We hear a tree knock by us. And Al's walking around saying, I think there's somebody here, out tonight. Now, this is St. Hollow's Eve. Full moon, meteor shower, beautiful night. And, you know, it's like Halloween. Who's out in the middle of the woods except for us three idiots that are there doing an investigation? So we're like, no, I I doubt it. There are dogs barking in the background. You can hear them in the valley. Could be coyotes too. And then at one point, we hear the rock knock, right? And it's followed by a whoop, 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 and it's so loud that you can feel the reverberation in your chest. It's like being at a concert, and you hear the whoop, whoop, and the third whoop is at the other end of the lake, 2 miles away, and it's in a split second. My buddy Al goes, "I think there's somebody here with us," and I'm like, "Dude, that's not that's a Bigfoot. That is 100% a Bigfoot." And that just that was just incredible. So the second whoop was closer to where I was sitting. Excuse me. So we put the lights on. We walked into that area, looking around. And again, that's the area that leads to the goat trail on the other side. And if you were really that big and large as a Bigfoot, 10 foot tall, 900, 1,500 pounds, and you started to go through those woods, you would clearly hear it. It'd be like a freight train breaking down trees. Nothing happened. It was split second. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And so we don't see anything clear, full spectrum, nothing. And we're like, what the heck's going on? Now, in my mind, I think that was a scout. And that scout was saying to the rock knockers, like, they knocked like, is it safe to come? And that scout went whoop, 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 because there was three of us. And he said, there's three of them. Take the long way home. Don't come this way. Because they wanted to come over to where we were. We didn't realize it until later on. But I felt that was an advanced Bigfoot saying, don't come here. They're here. They're not moving. And this is the second time he's tried to get us to move. So we stood our ground. We're there. Now, what's interesting is I studied physics and astronomy. At one point, I was going to be an astrophysicist. Didn't want to work at schools and lose money and, make something for somebody else rich. So I know certain things, and it was just in the beginning of quantum and string theory. The only way that creature can go from point A, which is where we are, to 2 miles down the lake to point B is if you opened up a portal, you stepped in, and you came out where you wanted to. And everything that night changed. I was originally a flesh and blood person. Bigfoot's real. It's Gigantopithecus or some kissing cousin. And it's all flesh and blood. I do not believe that at all anymore. I believe they have the ability to be flesh and blood, and then the innate ability to change their molecular structure and go interdimensional. That's where they get into these portals and they come out of the portals. So that's a sidebar on that. And that changed, and then that added like 50 other questions I have, hypothesis to my other hypothesis. So after the whoop, 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 we kind of sit there and we're like discussing it quietly. And the next thing you know, I hear something crashing through the trees behind me. Something big. And then I get a thud. Boom, I feel it on the ground. Roll, roll, hits my chair, and I fly out 10 feet. And my buddy's like, are you all right? I'm like, dude, something just threw something at me. And we look back, and it was probably about a 3 foot, wide boulder, rock. I'm pretty strong, but not that strong. And I think it was the Bigfoot just pissed off, like we didn't leave. Like, I hate you guys, like, because he could have killed me if he wanted to. He in a split second he could have killed me. He could have taken a smaller rock and thrown it so hard and accurately, I would have been dead. But it didn't want to do that. So after that moment, it kind of dispersed and it left the area, and almost instantaneously, that pressure that was there was gone. So I think it was using some kind of infrasound to create that pressure dynamic. That's an offensive and defensive ability of theirs. We didn't succumb to it. We didn't leave. We have no ill will towards it, and it realized that, and we just made its life difficult that night. So after that incident, we decide, let's go. We'll go to the other campsite, which is probably, you know 15-minute walk. So we pack up our stuff. Bill starts walking. Al starts walking. Bill starts walking, and I'm at the back. And I had this camera from Olympus, a T4, and it's for underwater photography. But what's great is it takes great shots at night, um, without flash. So I put it in the bag, and I said, something said to me, Bryan, don't be that guy that has the camera in the bag and can't get to it. So instead, I put it in my breast pocket. And we're walking, and we get to the top of that point of the lake, and you can see this wonderful sky, and the stars are there. And as we're walking, I see this orange yellow light, circular, that's moving from the right in a fluid motion to the left, and I no aviation lighting on it whatsoever. Like I said, what is that? And I pointed at it, and the minute I pointed at it, it stopped, and instead of going from right to left, it starts coming at us. So it was like, oh, this is getting interesting. And at that moment, we kind of shut the lights off on our headlamps, and we were kind of hovering behind trees because we didn't know if it was a government drone. What was it? So we're there, and I start filming immediately. Now, I'm a filmer of. I will use every bit of space in my storage to film it. I would never have let that camera go, but it goes for a little bit over a minute. That footage is on Bronxville Paranormal Society's YouTube page, and in it, you hear my friend Al go, time check, and Bill goes 9:15. So okay, we see this subject. It's hovering just above the trees. It hits us with a light, and it has this like vibration quality to electric, like motor quality to it, and then a musical quality, and then it keeps doing that. And in the video, you hear Bill, who is normally animated. He talks like this. What is it doing? Very robotic. So it's 9:15 when this happens. We're watching it. I don't recall when it stops doing what it's doing, but not that long after, we start walking over. It goes away. Oh, it's gone. And we walk to the next campsite, literally 10 minutes. So the latest it should be is 9:30. We get there, we set up our chairs. Bill goes, does his thing. I start doing, a little bit of just checking the stuff, trying to figure out what the hell I just saw. And we go, and we have to call back our psychic. And Al goes, time check. And I look at my watch, and it is a quarter to 12. So we've lost a couple hours of time. He goes, it can't be a quarter to 12. It's just 9:15. I said, yeah, no, my watch is saying a quarter to 12. And I checked. It was a quarter to 12. So we're trying to figure that out. And we call our psychic up, and she's like, we're beginning to talk to her. And at that moment, we hear what sounds like a family in pitch black in the woods that is coming towards where we are. So we hang up on her, and we said, Bill, turn your light on. We turn all the lights on. We don't want to have a family come up on us in the dark, scare the hell out of them. So we're waiting, and we're waiting, and no one comes. So we go investigate. No one's there. We don't even hear them walking or anything. I mean, they were chit chatting like you were on a hike. Boom, boom, boom. So we're trying to figure this out. We go back. We call Cindy up on the phone. She's like, "What the hell are you doing?" In her Arcanese. And we said, "Well, there was a family coming. We wouldn't want them to see us in the dark." So she goes, "They're not there. You're in a time space rip. They'll be there tomorrow." And we're like, "What?" And that was all we needed at that point. Everything just kind of like we just couldn't believe on that. But then she starts telling me, did you see? You're going to see woodland creatures. You're going to see ancients. You're going to see all these things just outside of the perimeter watching us. And I was seeing all of it. And I was pointing out to Al and everybody, like, watch that there's a little guy that's moving from tree to tree. And Bill was videotaping this stuff while this was happening. And we saw it. I jerry rigged a small monitor to his camera so Bill can see it in the camera. Al can see it. And we're recording what seems like 20 minutes worth of stuff. Great evidence. And there's lights. I said, there's a taller being in the back. And I saw a Native American individual. And then it kind of dispersed. We go look at it. And of course, the file's corrupted. Like file corrupt. Can't access it. So right at this point, it's like 12 something, and everybody's kind of drained from the night. And we decide we'll go. Nothing, nothing more is going to happen. And we walk out. We walk to the car. Now, normally when we finish an investigation, Al and I, we usually hit a diner and we do a cool down or a breakdown. Like, well, I saw this. What do you see? And we kind of like see what each person has experienced, and then compare the notes. Um, but this time, after all that took place, they were like, "Yeah, nothing happened. Let's go home." And I'm like, "What do you mean nothing happened? I mean, I know it took place. I remember all of this stuff." Like, so whatever. I'm not going to argue with them. I got to drive an hour and change to back to New York City from where I am. And the whole night I'm driving, I'm actually scanning the skies. I just felt like something was out there. Get home, do my ritual. I put all my clothes in a plastic bag, tie it up. I wash with water, no matter what time of day or night it is, as a cleanser to get rid of anything negative. Go to sleep. When I wake up the next morning, I'm by myself. I don't have my shirt on. I sleep in just a pair of shorts, and I have this really weird taste, metallic taste in my mouth. It tastes terrible. And when I go into the bathroom and I look in my mouth, my whole mouth is blue. And I'm like, weird. And the phlegm's blue. And I'm like, this is strange. Let me call up Al. So I call up Al. I go, anything weird happened to you? He goes, I got something hard in my lip. I said, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, I ate a Smurf apparently. Um, so I said, do me a favor, call Bill, see what happened with Bill. And so he goes to call Bill. At that point, my wife comes in with my daughters and like, Daddy. I'm like, hey, girls, because they would come from Sunday school. And they go, what happened to you? Where'd you get the bruises? I'm like, what are you talking about? I have a bruise up by my chest near the right breast, and I have one lower on my stomach area, like a black and blue bruise. Nothing touched me. I didn't poke into anything. So then at that point, I was like, I don't know. And then Al calls me back. Bill apparently woke up in the middle of the night screaming bloody murder. So I'm like, we have to investigate this. We did not do any regressions, but we agreed to do it together, even though Al said, I'm going to try it by myself. Um, but we do have missing time. We do have the Bigfoot encounter. We do have the UFO encounter and the space time rip for that incident right there. And something interesting is if you look at the photos that I took, and I've looked at them 1,000 different times of that investigation, Bronxville Paranormal Society, in two of the photos, this is a third party listening in on one of these interviews, went there and looked at it, and they circled it. In one of them is a Bigfoot, and you can see it, and I'll send it to you through Messenger. And then another one is a dog man, and it's literally the canine face, the snout up behind the rock wall with the pointed ears. And we've looked at all this stuff probably 1,000 times on screens from 13 inches all the way up to 115-inch TV set, and we missed it. And that's because, when you keep looking at the same thing, it's like editing your own work. You can't do it. But we definitely have some evidence, and it's not a blob squatch. Um, so it was pretty interesting. But that location is probably no more than 30, 40 miles from where my camp is.
Well, that's
So
pretty
that
close.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really, really close. Um, and matter of fact, before that investigation, at that crossroad where New York, Massachusetts, and Connecticut meet, there's a camping ground there. And when I was dating my wife, my brother and his wife, and Rottweiler, and me and my wife, and a couple of friends, we went camping there. Oh, how cute it was! And in the middle of the night, something big was walking through that campsite, and I could tell you it's near Copake Lake in New York. They have several sightings of Bigfoots there, and even though there's a bear in the area, this didn't sound like a bear. Um, there was something big there, and it was, and the Rottweiler was barking up a storm. He was growling. So I think we had another encounter there with a. I didn't see it though, but it's after the fact.
Just going
But
back to the last story, just a quick insight. When your psychic told you were in a time space rip and that the sounds you were hearing, those people would be there tomorrow, you weren't there the next day to check that out, were you?
no, we weren't there the next day to check it out. I mean, it was a long distance. Even the next day was when you do these investigations, you get a like we call it a paranormal hangover. Um, you got to recoup from them, and you kind of feel drained. I mean, we've been through a lot that night. It happens with ghost hunting. There's something about dealing with these cryptids um, and what they can transmit, like the infrasound. It really wears on your body, your mind, your psyche. I thought it was very interesting. Al was the only one dealing with the psychic at the time. I wasn't really dealing with her, but I always use my abilities prior to that any investigation. Matter of fact, a week prior to us going on that investigation, I knew we were going to have encounters. I started seeing them in my dreams, and well, I would say it's more of experiences than dreams. When you sleep, you can either have a dream, which is very vague, or an experience. And I think I was getting downloads like this is going to happen. Also, our psychic in Arkansas was getting messages and downloads too a week before we went. So it was, you know, we knew stuff was going to happen. Um, and what we did do is we went back a couple, like we were in the midst of winter, so we weren't going to go back there. It was kind of cold. It got colder, but when it got warmer, we did walk back there, and no more than 100 yards behind where we sat is kind of like a swampy area, and in the swampy area is a den, and we have dogmen in the den. I will send you those images as well.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
we couldn't walk. It was really interesting. You couldn't walk into it because you would sink right into the mud. But in this in this den photo, if you zoom in on it, it was Bill took video. Then he zoomed in, and you see this grotesque looking creature, and then you see what looks like a puppy dog man, um, showing its teeth. There's a couple of them in there, and this big eye. So I will send them to you almost immediately, and
That's
let you take
great.
a look at what we had there.
Yeah. Now you
Um,
you also mentioned that you do remote viewing. Tell me a little bit about
yes,
that.
sure. I've been doing remote viewing or messing around with the ability of remote viewing since I can remember, but now it's officially calling remote viewing. I start like I don't go into like a super meditative ability or trance, but I would sit there and focus on a specific somebody. Like if you weren't feeling well, let me give you a better example. The psychic for our group wasn't feeling well, and she's like a sister to me. So I said, okay, if you want, I'll go there and I'll take a look and see what's going on with you, and see if I can find anything. Is it all right? And she goes, yeah, it's fine. So I've never been to her house. I've never seen her before. Never met her. Don't see her on Facebook. None of this stuff. So I focus on her. My intentions are on her, even though I've never seen her. And I feel myself traveling over into the Arkansas area. This is really interesting. So when I get there, and my eyes are closed at this point, it's kind of playing out in my mind's eye. It plays out like a movie in your head. as if you've known it your entire life. You've seen it 1,000 times. So, like if I said to you right now, can you see a stop sign? You can see it in your mind. If I said the number 43, can you see the number? Yeah. You can see the spelling of your name in script. Yep. That's exactly what it's like. But I can see it, smell it, touch it, taste it, manipulate it. I can do whatever I want. I can even go into your computer without you knowing about it and see what's on your hard drive. I don't even have to be, I can just focus on it and I get it. So I go, and when I step into this home, I literally step into the room that her 4-year-old granddaughter is sleeping. And she sits up and she looks at me like, who the hell are you? So I said, hi, I'm Brian. I'm here to help your Nana. I'm here to help your grandma. All right, can you tell her Brian was here? And she just looks at me like she's not scared. She's just staring at me like she's, like I said, okay, I'm gonna go now. And I get off the area where she is. I go out in the hallway and I see this room to the right and left. And I know that in the room over there, Cindy's sleeping on the other side of the room, but that wall that separates them, I see the mold growing on the bottom underneath where the baseboard is. And I said, that's going to be a problem. Then I go into the her room and I see her there sleeping. And what I do is I visualize in my mind's eye and I start at the top of her head and I literally start scanning down, technically asking internally, show me what's wrong with her. Excuse me. And as I start scanning down from the jawline down to the shoulder area, I see something black. We keep going down, 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 down. Everything's fine. So I then fill her with white golden light. I get it go in her body, and it kind of fills up every nook and cranny in her body. And I send a healing her way and fill her with white golden light. It is all about your consciousness. It's all about wanting to be at some place. You don't have to know the full details of it. They can give you. This is why they give you they can give you a GPS coordinates, or they can give you something that represents a specific something, and you key and they'll just give you that like letters ED5. But the person that's giving you the letters knows what it represents, but you don't know it, and you key in on ED5, and it takes you to where they want you to be, and what they're thinking of, and then you can see everything. You can explore it. Um, But that's what I do with remote viewing. When the next day she calls, she goes, "You were here, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I was. How'd you know?" She goes, "My granddaughter told me Brian was here." I said, "Okay." I thank you for telling me. She goes, "But what'd you see?" So I said, "For the most part, you have a thyroid problem." Because I saw it right there, and she just was dead silent. She goes, "You saw that?" I said, "Yeah." I don't know her health. She goes, nobody knows, but I do have a thyroid problem. I said, well, that's where your problem's stemming from. And you have mold in the room. They said, no, they cleaned it up. I'm like, go back into the room, go by the baseboard, crack it open. It's all coming in from there. And a couple of days later, she goes, you were 100% correct. There's mold growing back in there. So remote viewing is very interesting. Everybody can do it. It's just I'm not, I don't let the distractions of the world bother me, and I just go into it. And the more you do it, it's like a muscle. The easier it becomes, the more accurate you become. Um, and it works, wonders. And I think that begets other abilities too. So I can actually hear the dead, which blew my mind. I can touch things, I get information off of it. Sometimes I just instantaneously get a download on stuff. Just know I could read everybody in the room. I could read you right now, but I'm not going to. I don't do that. Your business is your business, unless you ask me to, and then I'll go read
Yeah,
them.
let's look at that.
Oh,
We're gonna
I'm
test
a
this.
bit tired right now, but
Test this
yeah,
in real time. No, I'm a remote viewer, so I totally get it.
yeah,
I remember going on a podcast one time, and the podcaster asked me to, remote view where he lives, and all this. Boy, talk about being on the spot. All of a sudden, in front, it was a live podcast, so I got it.
yeah. Well,
Um,
that happened to me on another show. So I was a guest on another show, and this woman comes up and says, um, "Brian, can you, my husband's supposed to come home." and we're waiting for him, and we're worried he hasn't called us, he hasn't talked to us, and whatever. So they put me on the spot.
Yeah.
So I stopped for I said, "Well, I'm not. I'm on a cold mode right now. I'm not in that mode." But and then I saw it. I saw you had a car problem, drained the battery, too cold to start the car. I said he'll be back. He's having a car problem, but he'll be back. He'll get in contact with you tomorrow. And the next day I did another show, and she came in. She goes, "You're 100% correct. The car battery couldn't turn over, and his phone drained, and he was stuck because of the weather. I can't thank you enough. You just walked through the door. I appreciate you so much. Um, I can do it. I can do it more now. I've done it before. I prefer when I do a reading for somebody, and I call those readings now. But when I remote view somebody, I prefer to give me a couple of minutes to kind of like get in there and try to key into things. I don't. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
When you are remote viewing something, you want to see some information, whether it's tasked to you or your own task. Do you have the ability to ask, like, I need more information, show me more,
Oh,
and they
definitely.
do it?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay,
something that, I
okay.
mean, it's a dialogue at this point. You
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just like a dialogue. I worked for, 30 years as a health intuitive, so I could really relate with your story about the woman and her health issues. But the question I have for you, I have a new book that's just came out called Spy Your
Sure,
Way to Power and Success. And it's a process, it's a technique. And given your educational background, you will appreciate this as well. But it's
sure.
really kind of a mix between the consciousness of the person and physics, and combining those. It's a biophysics process of manifesting. And I had to back engineer my own personal life and all the incidences that have happened to me because I have been so fortunate seeing things in the future and then, being able to manifest those things, opportunities, in the future. And those have just come my way many, many times. But this process teaches people to scan, understand how to charge an atmosphere and be able to manifest. So my question to you is, best way to market this is brand spanking new out. And I'm just, kind of making my way forward into the future with it. And I want to do the best I can to be the best administrator of this process.
Okay, so I'd love to. I want. I'm going to buy a copy. I want to buy it from you directly. I'll send you money, and I like autograph copies. It's just something I. It's a little thing I have. If it's all right with you, I'll. I'm sure you can get your copy, and I'll buy through you, so you get the money for whatever. But marketing is very interesting. I do a lot of that stuff for people. I tell people how to market. Um, I would start using AI video to set up a scenario of like. Joe, I'm just going to use a random name. Joe's having a tough time. He's working at a factory once more. He gets your book and starts to utilize the techniques and he images and he imagines that manifestation that he wants, the better job, you know, the successful stock pick or whatever it is. And at the end, it's like, you know, friends like, wow, this is great. How'd you do this? And he just kind of smiles holding the book, like I would do like little videos like that. Voiceover videos work. I would advertise um, on Instagram, little spots. Put the video up yourself as well as then do some paid ones. Instagram, Facebook, but you want to focus your marketing on TikTok.
Where do you see the turning point on this? Because I've done so many classes. I taught people to be health intuitives, as well as hypnotherapists. Teaching is kind of my skill. It's what I did, and
Right.
I did multiple sessions. Don't misunderstand me. I did a
So
lot of health intuitive sessions, but anything I know, I tend to give away through teaching and enabling other people to do this for themselves, including remote viewing. So at what point do you see any kind of future date or time or location or a significant turning point in this where it kind of reaches uh, I
so
guess
that's why I said, yeah, yeah.
a climax
So
basically where the world kind of knows about it?
so I'm trying to focus on that as well as this interview. So just but I'm getting a 6 month window, and that's 6 months worth of marketing. I think TikTok is your Huckleberry. Um, you need to get some of these. There, I see right now in my head people picking up. You got to get this book. You got to get this book. You got to get this book. Your target, even though you want everybody, men and women, it's going to initially be women or um, women and gay men, and they're going to be like, "This is you got to get this book." They're going to start. They're going to do your marketing for you, and it's this is not you sending out books to these influencers. Hey, can you read this? People are going to start seeing some of your stuff. Say, pick up a copy. You know, do you have a window in that book where like it, like a time frame from A to B when it starts to when you should start feeling the manifestation? Because it's like a 10-day window. Is it like 3 weeks? I'm just asking because I think if you package it as like give it, get the book, give yourself 30 days, read it, give yourself 30 days after that to start the manifestation and watch what happens.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's going to work.
the book is just full of people who have utilized this technique to be able to create better things. And it's really about creating the life you want. It's not just about, creating money or prosperity, even though it's definitely in there because I've been an entrepreneur since the 80s and it worked for me very well. But it's about
Right.
creating the life you want. I mean, there've been so many times, someone just wanted to move to the country and have an organic farm and being able to
Right.
see where that opportunity sits out there and then be able to, to take that all the way into fruition where they actually get to live the life they want. And that's really
I
what it's about, is helping people to do
right.
that.
I personally believe I'm not kidding you. I just see it on TikTok. I'm seeing it in my head right now. And I don't do this. I don't my mission in life is I always help. I'm so happy when people like good things happen to people. I want your book to go to number one.
Oh, I do
Um
too. And I'm the same as
yeah,
you.
yeah, no.
I love it when people are successful with something, when they can take something or healings or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Anytime I can be of
So
service in that way, it's just a beautiful, wonderful feeling.
so you have people that give testimonials if I'm correct. I would take the testimonials and use them as prompts for AI video. And there's a lot of different sources. It's not that expensive that you can kind of work with that and create like, Gina was on the night, was a mom at home, not making much money, and she wanted a better life for her and her family. Whatever the testimonials are, build a market, build an ad around it, and throw these little videos up. Boom, boom, and tag them. And that's how it's going to start. It's really going to be a TikTok thing. And if it picks up on TikTok, you're going to start getting the younger generation, which is really key in this stuff because people like 40 plus, um, they'll get into it. They'll organically find you and they'll get you, but you really want that younger generation, the ones that want to buy Dubai chocolate, like my daughter. Like, where'd you see this? TikTok. Everything's TikTok, and I think you can have if you throw up these videos, you tag them, they're going to start to take off, and
Yeah.
then you're going to do a lot more shows based on it. You're gonna, like, I got to talk to this. I got to talk to Linda. I got to talk to her, and they're going to have you come on. I do see. I'm seeing right now in my head something with Amazon where they give you the books of like the most successful books. You're going to be on that list. You're going to be like you climbing up to the top. Your book is going to be it's good. It's for 6 to 9 months. That's what I'm getting.
That sounds really good, and I'm going to keep all of this in mind and,
Yeah,
take it in. And
and
manifestation is
I'll
a wonderful
I'll
process to
I'll
work through.
I'll actually contact you, through Messenger. I know of some of these things where you can vehicles that are free, where you can take a premise. Basically, what you do is you take the testimonial and you say, using this testimonial, give me video prompts for um, a male, whatever race, showing how they were successful using these prompts. And somehow the AI figures it out using prompts and they output a video. And
Yeah,
that's your advertisement. And if
exactly.
you
And
throw these up, see, people are just going to see it. And what they're going to do, you're going to get some young people that just going to take a shot at you. Not like a bad shot, like I'm gonna take a shot at this.
Yeah. And going
Make
back
it
to
a
our Bigfoot
challenge.
discussion, when we made big
Say,
byways of Bigfoot, it was amazing because Bigfoot showed up. We didn't see Bigfoot, but we saw all kinds of evidence of Bigfoot in that film, and it was just fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this interview today. Thank you
sure,
so much for joining me. Send me all the information that you have, and this should come
it's a
out
pleasure.
probably mid-July.
No, no, whenever it does, it does. I appreciate it, and I'd love to get you on my show.
Absolutely. Love to.
I don't know what your schedule's like, um, but I'm kind of doing July and August right now.
Hmm.
But I'm doing a lot of traveling. I'm going to a conference at the end of July, and then I'm going to be at the Crossing Realms conference in Missouri on September 19th, presenting on Dogman actually,
Yeah.
um, which is a cryptid I wish didn't exist. But I do appreciate you having me on. I'm always honored to be on. No one has to ask anybody to be on, and I appreciate you. I watched you on with PMR and Krista. You were fantastic. When I watch you, no, no, seriously, it's like I'd love to be able to, outside of these interviews, just sit around like I don't really drink. Um, I have enough weird things going on, but just to, have those chats because they're so far and few in between. I don't I it's so hard sometimes to discuss these things because a lot of the world just doesn't get it and they just think you're crazy.
No,
You
that's
know?
true. Yeah, and you just
Yeah.
move forward anyway because it's your life, it's your world, and we know what we experience, right?
Oh, unfortunately, yes, I do know what I experienced. A classic example is my wife a couple years ago comes to me and she's talking about a friend that the daughter of a friend because she works at a summer camp during the summer and my kids go. She goes, no, she's got these, she lost some vision in her eye. She's got these headaches, and I'm sitting on the sofa and I don't watch TV, but I was like watching Monster, some paranormal show. It's getting ready on the DVR, and she comes at me out of context, and without missing a beat, I go, she has MS, and she goes, no, I mean they tested for that, whatever. I said, okay, and I go watch my show. So fast forward like a month, 2 months later, she comes to me and she said, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, I recorded something. I'm going to watch it. No, the kids aren't around. I got my moment. And she goes, how did you know that? And I go, how did I know what? She goes, how did you know that? And I said, how did I know what? What are you talking about? And this goes on for about like a minute, 2 minutes. I'm like, listen, you're coming to me totally out of context. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. How did I know what? How did you know that she had MS? Because she does. And I looked at her and I said, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
Mhm.
And that's how it works. And that's the problem. But I've got about a 98% accuracy rate.
That's
So,
fantastic. That's
yeah,
really
but here's the problem though. And this is my caveat: the future is fluid. And if
exactly.
you don't follow the path you're following right now, continue on your life, continue doing your interviews, continue doing your being interviewed, whatever, and you sit back and wait for that to happen, it won't happen. So
I
then,
100% agree. That's exactly what Spy Your Way to Power and Success is all about. It's like
yep,
those opportunities may fall in your hand, but you've got to take action upon it at that point.
right. I didn't catch the beginning of the episode last night or the night before when you were on, but do you bring a copy of the book and hold it up? You
I don't think I brought a copy to hold it up, but he did, tell people how to get it at through
you
Amazon.
want to hold it up. You
Yeah.
want to hold it up.
Okay.
I'm gonna suggest that to you.
Okay. Thank
Hold it
you.
up,
Thank you.
and then yeah, I will. I have no problems about send me some stuff, and I'll promote it out. And I'm saying
Yeah.
this is a fan. If you want the life you want, go read this book and go do the steps and give yourself 30 days, and you'll get. And that's how it's gonna be. Have these like BMR promoted. Have Krista and Brandy are awesome. Go on their show. Have them promoted. Like guys, I just got this book, but I'll definitely get a copy of the book and read it and from you, and we'll swap all that stuff and then because I'd rather have the author get the money instead of the publisher.
Well, it sounds great. Thank you so very much, Brian, for joining me
Thank
today.
you very
Very
much, and
fun.
you have a blessed day. And I was it was just wonderful meeting you, and there's so much more I want to talk about,
I
but
know
yeah,
there's always
yeah,
more. I understand that for sure. Thank you so
you
much. And
got
I
it.
want to thank the audience for watching. And please remember to go click that subscribe button. Let's keep this channel going.
Yes.